Thomas White is the director of UNRWA Affairs in Gaza. That's the UN agency for Palestinian refugees. He joins us live now. Tom, thank you so much for being with us. I don't know if you were able to hear Selma's piece there, but the images coming out of Gaza right now are ones of sheer hopelessness. Sheer hopelessness. There's no other way to put it. Once the war is over, the people of Gaza have to have something to live for, and I don't know if they do. I don't know if they do. Just give us a sense of what you're seeing and what does the world need to understand about what is happening where you are.
The tragedy really continues to unfold here. Of course, yesterday, another tragic day for, particularly in the north. Obviously, we had 3 locations in the north where there were death and injury due to airstrikes nearby schools. And I remind people that, this is people who are sheltering under the UN flag. They're seeking safety. They're seeking sanctuary in these schools, and they are losing their lives, and loved ones are being injured in places that should be protected under international humanitarian law. But I'd also make the point that nowhere in Gaza is safe, because the 4th school that was hit yesterday was in fact in what we call the middle areas, which is south of Wadi Gaza. And there in that school, another 2 people lost their lives. So the first thing is nowhere is as safe as in Gaza. Everybody is afraid that they are going to be in an airstrike. They're going to lose families. They're going to lose their houses. Then more broadly, we have thousands of people sheltering in schools. We had planned that we could cope with about 1,500 people sheltering in one of our schools. We now have over 4,000 people on average in the 147 schools which are now operating as shelters. Conditions there are becoming desperate, particularly in terms of sanitation and access to basic services. People are having to go out on the street and try and find water and food, and this is for the whole population really in Gaza, as food and water is increasingly in short supply. So, the situation continues to get worse here in Gaza.
Thomas, we've been reporting on just the trickle of aid that's been able to get in thus far, a drop in the bucket relative to where things stood before October 7th. Can you talk to us about what specific aid is needed most right now? You mentioned the shortage of water. Is that the primary concern right now?
So you've made the point that not enough aid is coming in. We are right now really prioritising 2 things: getting food to people and getting water to people. We are effectively relying upon food stocks that we already had in Gaza. Before this conflict, we were providing 50% of the calorific need for 1.2 million people. So we are rapidly drawing down on our stocks, particularly of wheat flour in Gaza. The second issue is really water. Now, water in Gaza relies upon fuel. Now, with the fuel reserves that we have been able to access that were in Gaza, we've been able to keep desalination plants operating. We've been able to support the pumping of groundwater. That's not enough water to support the population. We've got to remember that in the south of Gaza, the population has effectively doubled in the space of a week. So there's not enough drinking water. And secondly, we are very concerned that the reserve that we've been accessing that sits within Gaza probably has 100,000 litres left in it. We are, 1 or 2 days away from using that reserve. We need to ensure that fuel comes into Gaza, but just for water. The municipal services of Gaza that are pumping sewage, that are pumping water around Gaza, rely upon fuel. So really we're focused right now on food and water.
Tom, what are people supposed to do? You talk about the fact that nowhere in Gaza right now is safe. If you are a Palestinian mother or father and you have 3 or 4 kids and you receive a flyer that has fallen from the sky from the IDF in Arabic saying, listen, the area you're in is about to get bombed, please evacuate. What do you do? Where do you go? It's not as if people have a holiday home in southern Gaza that they can just go to, or a condo or whatever. What do you do in that moment of crisis? Where do you go?
I think this is the biggest dilemma for particularly the people living in the north right now. Do I stay or do I go? For many of them, it was a case of, if I move to the south, I'm then displaced. I'm out of my house. I'm out of my home. We are already overwhelmed in the shelters that we have in the south, so we cannot provide them access to shelter, to water, to food. But of course, if the family's staying in the north, there is the risk of being caught up in the hostilities, caught in an airstrike. So it is a exceptionally tough decision for people about whether they move. Our concern at the present time is that people who do want to move south cannot move south. The Israeli forces now have literally control a strip of land just north of Wadi Gaza, and it's from the fence in the east to the sea in the west. So people who did want to flee south effectively cannot flee south. And we call upon some sort of safe passage for people who do want to leave the north, where most of the hostilities are currently focused, and come to at least the south, where there is some sanctuary. But yes, that is an exceptionally tough and difficult choice that thousands of families are having to make.
So they're effectively trapped. I can't imagine anything worse. Tom, thank you so much for the work that you're doing to help all those people on the ground who are in dire need of our assistance right now. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on the show as well.
Thanks, Tom.